All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another live episode of Peaker's Advantage. Just the boys here today, just us three, and Darian, of course, in the background, saying stuff every now and then, pushing stuff, doing stuff,
Yeah,
pretty much doing everything else.
sometimes.
Yeah, some stuff sometimes. And yeah, we're doing another episode live. Unfortunately, over the weekend, we had a pretty sweet guest lined up, but Stu had something come up last minute, so he wasn't able to do the show. And so now we've had to sort of push it back and reschedule and do stuff, and we decided to wait until after Beijing was over and sort of do an episode, just the three of us, more centered around the IEM Beijing stuff that went on, and all the sort of storylines and stuff that went on there. So here we are, guys. What's up? How's it going?
What's up?
Cool. Thanks, guys.
We're feeling it. We're really feeling it.
Feeling themselves today. You can just All right. So let's just sort of get right into this. IEM Beijing, obviously, ESL event hosted over in China, 8-team event. Astralis, the winners, as probably expected. I think that maybe you could have made arguments that before the event started that EG would have felt that they had a chance to win as well.
Yeah.
But Astralis just played unbelievably good throughout this whole event. Just talking stats wise, Glaive was their best performer, which is just incredible for him, because he always puts in work, and now he's actually putting up he actually put up ridiculous stats. He had a 1.48 rating, plus 67 KD over 9 maps. That is unreal, especially for an in-game leader. So, what did you guys think of Astral's performance this event?
He's just calling around himself. It's whatever,
It's really.
Yeah, I made a joke on Twitter. He's just like, he's in T-spawn on Inferno, like, yo guys, play real safe this round. No, I want no deaths. As you just see him fly up banana with like a Mac 10, just hunting some.
Yeah, he's a special guy.
He actually makes a lot of plays though. Like
Yeah.
legitimately, he's like a pretty big playmaker, which is like pretty rare. Maybe Stanislaw is like another in-game leader, kind of like that, but Glaive is just like on another level.
Yeah, Glaive is just not. He's not afraid to take fights in the beginning of rounds or anything like that. Especially if he thinks he has an advantage, he'll just go ham at it.
Yeah, especially I feel like on CT side we see him. I mean, it's on both sides, of course, but on T side on CT side, he's always going for info plays and like getting aggressive and trying to retake map control or take map control. And he's very, very aggressive. If you watch his demos, it's pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, and he's really skilled. He's actually like his first bullet accuracy and just ability to kind of transfer between targets is really pretty high up there for IGLs. Like a lot of IGLs, I think they'll get a kill, but they don't usually get that second frag. Glaive gets that second frag a lot, and it's when it's like a 50-50. Probably he's not even favored sometimes, so that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it does mean that sometimes he will die. That's what when you're playing that style of play, it means that you will die a lot. And I know this is almost going to be a meme at this point because of how bad Zeus was towards the end of his playing career. But when at Navi's sort of like in their heyday, like 2015, 2016, way back then, Zeus played a very similar style on his T and CT sides where he was always pushing for info, always going for aggro plays. He kind of sacrificed himself a lot. Of course, Glaive is just better, so he's just
more skilled.
Yeah, so he gets kills more often than not. But it's still. I feel like it's from back then when I used to watch a lot of Navi back then, and Glaive reminds me a lot of Zeus from back then, except he's way better at it. But the style is still the same.
One thing people don't really realize is like, yeah, Glaive watches like a lot of demos, and everyone knows that. But to actually effectively like flank from watching a demo is actually harder than you think, because I'm sure everyone's watched a demo before a match, and this is what happens: you watch it and you're like, okay, when they do this and this and this, I could probably push Ivy on train and flank team it or something, and then you do it and there's like 3 Ivy and you're like, what the fuck, So it's like it's not as easy as you think. Just watch a demo, but he always seems to just do it correctly. Like you rarely see him just push and die to like 4 guys waiting. It's almost like he always knows like the tells, I guess. Like I think he can tell fake tells from real tells better than other people.
Nico's pretty good at it too, though. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Because I'm just saying, like, people don't understand when you play high level teams, their tells are not as easy to tell as you think they.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like it feels a lot easier when you're watching, and when somebody does something really smart, you think like, oh, look, that was crazy, and it really was. Like it really was. But like you were saying, it's not as straightforward as you think. Like it seems really obvious when you're watching a game. Oh, there's just an opening right there. Like why don't they just you take that opening? It's like it's not as obvious when you're playing.
I just
And
think
if you look at someone like Liquid too, they'll run strats that look identical every round. So if you can find out how to like flank Liquid, which I think they're one of the hardest teams to actually flank, like to actually make a play versus Liquid. Like all their players, think about them: Twist, Naf, Nitro. They don't like to get flanked. Like if you watch them play, they're always aware. So if certain teams, like if you manage to actually do that, you're a god.
Yeah. I just think it's super scary for pretty much the entire scene right now that Glaive is at his peak, and usually it takes like an IGL, like I don't know, like Stanislaw or like MSL or like some kind of IGL player that's kind of like always going to be like lower middle pack. If they start popping off, then that team has like a one-time chance to maybe win a tournament or something. But Astralis has already been so effing good that if Glaive is also now contributing at a high level consistently, then it's pretty much over for just about everybody. It's just like you can't beat them when they're all firing. You got to hope like Zipnix isn't clutching. You got to hope that Device is missing some picks. You got to hope that something. But then like, okay, now Glaive is gonna step up. Like, what the fuck? Like, we didn't game plan for this at all. Like,
Well, that's why I think people always like write off Astralis. They like have a bad event or something. They're like, "Oh, Astralis era over," and like people like write up next event. They're like, "I don't know, they looked bad. I think blah blah." Blah. And it's like usually when they lose, it's just because the players were off. Like Device maybe wasn't in form. Like Dupree was dying on the entries. Like, but as long as they keep their individual skill up, even to just like 80%, I think they beat most people. Like they don't even need to be at 100 on all five. Like they just need like 80% because their tactics and their setups and their strats are so like well thought out that all they really need to do is get their one.
yeah, it's if like this is one of the most dominant events that there's been in like an international LAN in a long time. Like Astralis didn't drop a single map. I think their round win percentage was like 80%, something just bogus. And this is what happens when Glaive steps up. Like Dupree didn't even have like the best event. I mean, he still did well, but like he didn't even do like incredibly like. And he's usually one of their heavier hitters, and it's just like it's just so frightening if you're like in the top tier of CS right now and you're seeing that Glaive it can perform at this level. Like you gotta hope for something. You gotta be like Astralis. You gotta give us something to consistently beat them. But we'll see how it goes forward.
Yeah, at this event, Astralis went 9-0 for maps with an overall team KD of 1.52.
That's disgusting.
Absolutely insane. They played totally just ridiculously well. And just looking at the stats, like for like the whole event, player performance wise, we had Glaive, Device, and Zip at 1, 2, and 3. Then Ziwu coming in fourth with a plus 26, 1.29 rating. That kid always just goes off. And then right next is Magus. So of the top 5 players, 4 of them were Astralis players, and Ziwu and Magus were tied.
Yeah.
So like, it's just
mine Magix is ahead of Ziwu for some reason. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I guess it doesn't. I guess there it go. They're both tied for 4th then. So
you're saying Astralis should just replace Dupree with Zywu? That's what you're saying.
Dude, no, but my God, could you imagine?
Honestly, no, though.
I know,
Honestly,
but like, could you imagine?
Yeah.
Like, no. But still, though, ridiculous. And then after that, we had Nico going off again. We'll talk a little bit more about FaZe in a bit. And then you had Liaz and JKS popping off for 100 Thieves. I think that's a bit of an overperformance from Liaz, if I'm being honest. I like him as a player. I think he's good. He plays like a good, solid anchor role on those CT sides, and pretty. He's got good nade usage on T side as well. But I think this is a bit of an overperformance from him. I don't think we're going to see this very often. And then there's Dupree again. So really, this Astralis just absolutely dominated this event. It wasn't even close, really. We're going to taking a look at the groups here. We had Vitality top of Group B, FaZe finishing second, and then in Group B we had EG going out in 3rd place. I think that is a pretty disappointing storyline for them to go out to FaZe in that manner. What do you think about that? Did you watch that game? What were your thoughts on it? What did EG do wrong there?
I watched it. You can go.
Well, in the Dust 2 game, it felt like they were doing really well on T side, and then I don't know, it's almost like they got like too cookie cutter with FaZe or something. Like the first, I think they started 6-0 in that third map against FaZe, and then FaZe came back to bring it to OT and eventually closed it out in overtime. And it kind of felt like a lot of the plays that they ran were just like, we're ahead. And it's almost like Stanislaw didn't try, maybe he didn't try as many gimmicky things like we were talking about before, and he kind of went more standard. And I think FaZe on defense on CT side, they're good at handling standard stuff, and it didn't feel like that kind of X factor, like kind of ridiculousness from you'd see from EG came out in that map.
Well, in the first series, they got absolutely destroyed, right? 16-7
Yeah.
on Nuke, 16-6 on Dust 2. It wasn't even close.
Right, yeah.
So when they played them again the second time, and every single game was really close. All three maps could have gone either way. You think that was them changing their play style to
just in that map, just in like Dust 2, just in Dust 2, like they started really hot, and then they kind of, it almost felt like they just went to like slightly more standard stuff. I didn't write down every single round and how it broke down, but like it was like, here's a really typical mid to B split with 1 in tunnels, 3 coming up. Like, but then again, that also is just the nature of Dust 2 as well.
Right.
But like you can be a little bit more explosive, I feel like, for EG side, but it just felt like when I was watching, because like the way the games played out and how the cast or the observer perceived it, it just looked like from Colt's perspective, like this is the most standard mid to B hit ever. Like he's just playing around the Xbox on B side and just tapping everyone's head as they're running through window with no flash or anything. So it just looked really easy. Like FaZe did like just hunkered down.
I don't know. Like part of me just always feels like the team that loses the first BO3 always has an advantage second time. Like assuming you're like somewhat equal. Like yeah, if you're a bad team, just because you lost doesn't mean you now have an advantage. But if Astralis plays Liquid and Liquid gets 2-0'd and they play the same 2 maps the next time, I think you bet on Liquid then, just because they know all the things that went wrong and they're like a good enough team to make the correct changes to be like, okay, when we did this, they had like 3 ramp for some reason, like they can make those adjustments, and then Astralis is thinking like, okay, we won so easy, let's just do what we normally did, because if you win 16-2, what do you do, right? Like you're not going to change much. You have to assume that it was working. But anyways, when it came down to the first match, I think like it honestly just like they're off. Like aim wise, they just weren't clicking. Like they were doing the same like strats and everything. FaZe was just out aiming them. EG didn't look like the same normal team. They were just getting literally shut down everywhere they went. They go for a long pick, Nico kills a guy blind. They go out mid, like they have a crossfire, they get all mowed down. It was just like it was over for them. But then they went into like the next set of BO3s, and then I don't know. I think their aim was on, and they adjusted some of their strats, because in the first game I felt like they were running like a little bit more quicker strats a lot of the time. Like they were like, how you said they were going like kind of a little bit stale there at the end. Like you felt like they were playing more default. I think it's just because they got destroyed trying to do all their gimmicks in the first BO3. Like they tried to do like they had a pretty cool strat I saw like on Dust 2. They smoked mid B from like outside long and just like rushed out mid, like just like a really fast mid B with like kind of I wouldn't say it's a gimmick, but it's definitely like not a usual strat you do where you just kind of rush out mid
or anything.
Yeah, you're literally just rushing mid, and the smoke's there, so you don't even have to like go out the doors, take out that smoke and throw it. It's just there already. So they were doing like that kind of stuff, just getting wrecked. But yeah, but I think FaZe was just like outplaying them. On Nuke, it was just like anyone can kind of get owned on CT Nuke. I think you probably all agree. Like it doesn't matter how many rounds you get on CT. If you just get a little bit unlucky on some of the important gun rounds, I mean, it's Nuke CT side. Anyone can 13-2 someone. But at the same time, like anytime EG was taking outside control, FaZe was like pushing ramp, pushing lobby through hut, killing that lurker. Like they were doing a lot of really smart adaptions. Whenever there wasn't a heavy outside presence, Olaf was lurking around trying to kill the lurker with an op. Nico's kind of supporting him. Like I think their play style and everything they were doing was way better than I've ever seen FaZe play. Like all their CT rotations had plans. They had repushes. Olaf isn't like, people are like acting like he's some god op. I don't think he's a god opper, but he's very mobile. and he's very good at like getting like quirky little picks and going for pop shots, and I think he's doing a better job than Guardian did. Like, so that's like a bonus. But yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of like my thoughts. Is like I really think they're like a lot improved. I don't think they're like the best team in the world or anything. But again, people are hyping up this Astralis win. But who did they really beat? They beat Vici Gaming, 100 Thieves twice, and then they beat FaZe 16-2 and 16-0. So it's like obviously everyone loves winning an event, but it's not like the most impressive run. Like there was no Liquid, you know, and then that's like their
and
main
they didn't have to come up
competition.
against EG because
Yeah,
they
there was
got
no
knocked out by FaZe.
Navi. Yeah, they didn't have to play EG. There was just
There wasn't even a Fnatic, you know. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. Like obviously, like they played sick. They didn't lose a single map, but like I don't really count 100 Thieves as like the
Right.
gatekeeper of winning a
Yeah.
tournament. Like
100 Thieves
no
is
offense to
definitely a
them,
top
I think
10
they're really good and everything, and they're improving. But
Yeah, 100 Thieves is definitely a top 10 team, but you know they're not on like they're not up in that top 5. Like there is a drop off.
like, Astralis is supposed to beat them. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that is
Right.
like it,
Before we move too much away from FaZe, I really, it's kind of weird to me that FaZe just kind of decided we're going to start picking Nuke all the time, when that's statistically Cold's worst map, and they didn't even really play it on MIBR or the SK lineups or anything like that. Like his, I looked at the stats just to make sure. It's like his rating on Nuke is a 1.07, which is still good, obviously, but it's not Cold good. And every other map, he has like a 1.15 or above. And even in the tournament here, like he didn't. I think he did pretty decently in one Nuke game, but the other ones were like well below Cold numbers again. And it's like, it's weird you pick up this player that is, I mean, when he's on, he's transcendent, and then you just like put him in an environment on a map that he's just never really played that much. And yeah, he still can be good, but like he's not he's actually not a god on Nuke, in my opinion.
I mean, Nuke was a ban for Fnatic when Olafalt was on it too, like for a long time. Obviously, he's played it more than Cold has, but I don't know. It's weird. I think they still pug and play FPL and 10. You know, so like it's not like they never play a map, and he's also just getting kind of stuck at Inner. Like Inner's like pretty much one of the easiest spots I think, like to anchor, like because he's not being the mini guy is kind of confusing because you have to make a lot of like correct decisions. Like if you fuck up as the mini player, you can lose your team around really easy. But
yeah, mini's like the hardest, most pressure at least.
Yeah, and the reason I think they're like they keep playing it's just I think it's Nico one of his best maps. Like he's pretty fucking good on Nuke. Like that mini area, like just I don't know, he just dominates.
No, he does, and you know it's the like you were saying, Astralis' win here is good. You know, and they did beat FaZe in the semifinal pretty handedly. It was a pretty straightforward game. But I thought
they were going to lose Vertigo. I don't know, like, but they grinded.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they managed to pull that one out. But like I feel like the storyline here for FaZe, like from FaZe's point of view, is that Olaf was performing again, and that was sort of what enabled them, I think, to beat the EG team and to move on. Even like you were saying, you know, in that Nuke game, it was Olaf's presence outside and the way that he was able to give info back, like, okay, there's a lot of them outside this round, and then they react accordingly. Or if there's not a lot of people outside, he's the one opping out there, keeping presence shown. And I think that Olaf being able to perform to that level is what enabled FaZe to keep going and to get past EG in that group stage. Because remember, there's a world where that ends up being really tight, and EG takes the win there instead of FaZe, and then we see EG Astralis semifinal instead, right? So anything. So it was really fine lines. So do you think Olaf's performance is something that can be continued now that he's sort of moved into that primary opper role?
I'd say yeah, actually. I think Olaf is definitely capable of making the right macro decisions a lot of the time in order to just be a consistent op. Like mechanically, like I haven't seen yet that he's like disgusting with the op, but he did have that really sick highlight on ramp that one time where he killed like 2 of them approaching, then just randomly no scope the smoke or some shit and killed Ethan, I think, through it, like when they were trying to approach. But so he does have some flashes of being really good with it, but like we know he's not Zywoo or Simple, but like he could be, you know, a top. I don't know what number to put. Top 15, top 10 opper or something like that. Like, and he kind of reminds me a little bit of like how Alu used to play for FaZe with the op, where he was just like really good at like, okay, we're gonna put Alu in this spot here, and then after like 30 seconds, we're gonna just like take a second step to this round that involves Alu, but now Olafmeister moving to this part of the map. And then, yeah, like he's going to find these little picks because people don't know the exact timing he's going to move into these new positions. And he's going to play like a little bit aggressively angled on them that it's going to enable him to just get a free kill like every time because they're just not going to expect it. He was just outside at ramp. He was just outside on nuke. And now he's ramp, like, but we didn't expect him to be this close at ramp, kind of thing.
No, that's kind of what I was meaning. Is like what you're like. Yeah. I think he's very mobile. He's not like he's not just going to play one spot and sit there, which a lot of oppers get into that habit of like the kind of skadoodle role. And I think that's like kind of where you're never going to be that great. You'll be effective if your riflers are gods. You know, like kind of like the Nitro role where you're just doing your job. Like Nitro's not doing that much crazy stuff, but to be fair, I wouldn't either if I was Nitro and I have Elise, Twist, and Naf on my team, right? So I agree with you. I also think that he'll keep it up. Like I don't think he's gonna be a Zywoo device level opper ever, but I think he's always gonna be that like 0.7 FPR, like solid, like kind of opper that just is annoying to play verse because think about who's behind him. Nico, Rain, you know, like you got some pretty like hard hitters with rifles, so it's not like you get out of places for free.
Yeah.
And I think Brokey's doing pretty good as well. Like I'm not people act like he's like some god. I don't think he's a god, but I do think like he's I do think he does that bitch role really well for like such a young player, and like he makes very smart decisions. Like you rarely see him like you know, just die at a small site just for no reason by himself. You know, like he's using his nades correctly. He's you know getting flashes and falling back and like surviving. Which for a young player, like a lot of them want to battle a lot. Like they usually want to fight.
I remember on Inferno when they were playing that, he would be the B guy, and he'd be the B guy with just like an MP9 smoke flash. Like that's all he has, and he's just jump spotting, like going through his utility at the right timing, and he's not getting scared by just like little things either. He's saving onto his utility like to what is not the it's not like perfect fucking timing every time, but like he's rarely just getting like baited into using his nades too early, which is something that also if you're going against tier 1 competition, you might do that because you're like, fuck this, I'm not going to just die at my side. I got to throw my smoke immediately. Like, he's holding on to it.
And it's funny, too, because people that waste their utility too early don't realize that if you have an MP9 and you toss your utility too early, yeah, you might die because you didn't use it, but you using it guarantees that if they come to you, you're going to lose. Like, you're not going to hold the B site with a fucking MP9 by yourself. Like, you got to take the risk that, like, they're faking you or, like, they're pressuring you and, like, it's, like, not actually committing, which, for like you said, like, someone young like that, like, a lot of times they'll just chuck it. Like, they'll just tell. So I don't know if that's the coach or, like, Nico or, like, who's doing what, but I don't know. Nico's level being higher, I assume it's not just Nico doing everything because his form's been looking a lot better. So I'd imagine that the coach, the team, like they must be working like a different system because he was playing pretty bad.
Rookie pretty well. Like he must be working with him, not obviously daily, but like on more of an individual basis instead of more of like a team sort of macro thing. I'm sure he's focusing a lot on those little things with him and actually teaching him and helping him a lot.
The thing with FaZe, I've like their prep for maps is better though. Like they're taking map control safer. Like on Dust 2, they have like 2 different types of late long takes now. They have like ways to get like banana on Inferno, like multiple ways, like bracket too. Like they have different kind of setups in mid rounds now and things. Like they've worked on a lot. Like I think
having Coldzera on the team actually plays a pretty big role in that.
Yeah, I'm sure he's bringing ideas too. I think they said that he was going to be kind of like the secondary caller as well. So like that's really, he was doing that on SK when they were dominating too. So he's like bringing some good ideas to the table.
Right. And like the sort of mid-round focused gameplay is a very Brazilian-esque style, where and you could see it a lot too on their T sides where they were coming in with that Brazilian-esque style too, where it's like even when they're down numbers, they have lurkers, which is like that wasn't a thing back in the day. Like that sort of came over to North America with the Brazilians, where even if they're down 4 versus 5, they'll have 3 guys hit a site. Like let's say 3 guys go back to Mirage to hit B, and 1 guy is still lurking up connector, even when they're down numbers. And that's like a very that's a very South American Brazilian style of play, and you were seeing FaZe do that quite a bit in these series as well. But kind of moving on from FaZe, I wanna move more into EG and
Do you
talk
think that's
about.
from cold though? Like
I don't know.
bringing that over? I feel like that is kind of like a Brazilian thing, like you said. Like
Yeah.
a lot of westernized teams will just they'll just group and like go B on Inferno or something.
Yeah, like,
whereas
like when you're down numbers, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you
yeah.
group up and go for the trades when you're on T sides. That's sort of standard meta CS, and it was the South Americans that sort of broke that meta.
Yeah, they'd have like fur top mid, and then like they would go and like throw a bunch of nades B. He'd like wrap into spawn, and they would just kind of like teeter totter around the B side, either go back. Like you can ask Davey, it's annoying playing them. Like you never knew if like they're actually committing to a site or not. They would just like lurk.
Yeah, even in like it'd be weird. Like they would do it in like 2v2s where you would think, okay, they're gonna stick together, right? And then one guy would go back banana, throw a whole bunch of B nades, and run into B like, oh yeah, we're going into B. And then the bomb would lurk out halls. And it's like, this is a 2v2. Like this is not meta CS. This is like this was really unique play styles that they were coming out with. And I saw a lot of that with FaZe. I don't know if that's necessarily Cold Zera's input or what it is, but it was definitely fun to watch. But more specifically, I want to talk about EG and where we think their sort of underperformance came in. So again, we see Cirque playing well. He was the only one positive on the team. Breeze was close behind him with a -8, 0.97. But then we see huge drop-offs with Tarek, Ethan, and Stanislaw. And obviously Stanislaw's the in-game leader. He gets kind of a pass on that one. I don't think he actually played particularly poorly. But for me, Tarek really underperformed this event, not just stats-wise, but actually if you watch the games, it didn't really pass the eye test either. He didn't look like he was himself at all.
Yeah, I was thinking about it too. I think for Tarek, he's kind of this is something I notice when I coach other players that are like playing in like main or something like that. Sometimes I'll see a player that the way he goes into like a round or something like that, he just like you can tell he's like really thinking about whatever the macro is of the round. So it's like, let's say Stanislaw makes a call and it's like, hey, we're gonna explode bracket. 3 of you guys are gonna wrap arch. 1 of you guys is gonna sit around porch. We're just gonna do an A split off of that, like 4 people. Like Tarek like puts like so much. It feels like he's just like thinking all about the strat and not how to like get his own in the round. Whereas you watch like if Nico does that, like Nico is not going to just like full W all through Arch, all through Moto just to try to wrap into the site. And it feels like lately Tarek's been kind of like he's thinking like so much about the strategy and not about like how do I actually kill them. And it's like he'll do all these things that are probably like you're like, oh, he's kind of making the right play, but he's not like mechanically engaging in situations as strongly as he could be.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that makes sense from what I was seeing. I didn't really think about it that way, but that does make sense that he's just sort of, I don't know. I was just watching it, like you were saying, it didn't feel like he was. It felt like he was almost sacrificing himself so much.
That's what I mean.
All the time, and it was just like.
He's playing way too selflessly. Like he's way better than the way he's playing.
That's kind of what he did on C9, when they won the year. But like, I think it's different when you play like that when you're kind of when you're set up. You know what I mean? Like when flashes are kind of being rained for you. Like I've always explained like there's 2 versions of anti-fraggers. You got the bitch one that's basically gonna go and die, and you're used for like info. And if you got a kill, you probably win the round. Like everyone knows like that strat. Your first out holes on an Inferno or something. Like you're probably dead. Like realistically. Whereas like sometimes you'll have another entry fragger, like when Kerrigan was on a team with FaZe, Rain. He was set up with like a bunch of flashes. Like there'd be smokes blocking, there'd be flashes.
Yeah.
And I feel like right now Tarek is kind of like in that middle ground where it's like the strats are almost setting him up, but like you said, he should maybe tone down the full W a bit and like create a little bit more delay of him actually committing, because sometimes it looks like he's a little bit ahead of his teammates. Yeah. And I think that's the most dangerous thing. If your teammates either got blind, delayed, and it might not be their fault, you kind of have to know when to stop and wait a little bit, because if you get the kill, it's great. You're probably going to still win the round. But if you just like say you're mid B splitting and you go flying through the window and you die, and you're like, he's left the door and back plat, and your teammates are like blind outside the site, like
there's still a 2-second delay between them coming in.
Yeah, the CT's got to reset up and it's over. Like you're never going to win that round. So I definitely agree with like the Wing is good when everything is in your favor. But as soon as things break down, you have to learn to pivot.
Yeah, I think that EG, I think this was disappointing for them. I know people like to there's this whole argument thing going on with Jetlag right now where it's like, oh, they're jet lagged, and then you have like the counter jet lag culture, like the counter culture of Jetlag, where it's like everyone's like, Jetlag isn't even real, man.
I did see that on Twitter. Yeah.
It's just like guys.
People that say it's not real are fucking idiots. But
yeah, no, dude, they are. Okay, listen, so every time EG loses an event, we can't just say they're jet lagged. I get that. It can't just be an excuse every time they don't play well. It's like, oh, but they're just jet lagged. We also just can't pretend jet lag doesn't exist.
They're in Denver, jet lag. They're an hour away from LA.
Yeah, it's like we have to find some kind of middle ground here. Jet lag definitely exists. It definitely plays a role. I don't think the argument of everybody is jet lagged, so it's fine. I don't think that holds up. If everybody was playing on PCs from 2001, you wouldn't say, oh, but they're all playing on shit PCs.
Dude,
so
someone used that argument against me years ago. We went to a tournament. And the FPS was dropping to like under 100, and it was like 200 stable with drops to like under 100. And I tweeted something like, "Dude, this is fucking stupid. All these PCs blow." And someone was like, "Well, if everyone's on it, it's even." It's like, yeah, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're on the same res with the same video settings with the, you know what I mean? Like, also
or
one person
doesn't
might
make it acceptable.
Yeah, one person might be better with low FPS than you know what I mean. Like his play style might be more like angle based and playing like off intelligence. Which if your monitor and your PC are shitty, being smarter is always going to be a benefit, right? Like it's kind of one of the reasons I think I have a theory that like these aim gods now are better just because 240 hertz monitors at every event with like 900 FPS, like it's the same as at home.
You can be consistent,
like,
all the time.
Like when me and Shroud were on 1920, dude, he stayed on it no matter what. I would switch down to lower res sometimes because like you go when I used to use 1920, you'd go to an event and you'd have like sub 200 FPS, so I'd go down to like 1280 720 or just a same aspect ratio and everything, but like you get like 150 more frames. So I don't know. I definitely think like the structure's better now, but jet lag is definitely a thing. Olympic athletes like to go 2 weeks early to events, like just to get acclimatized. And the food as well. Food is important too, right? Like,
yep. And when you're in a country like China, where the food is obviously very different, even if you go 2 days early and you have a 30-hour travel day, it's just like everybody can go look up all the sleep studies that have been done over recent years that show if you have 1 day of missed sleep, it takes your body 3 to 4 days to recover from that. So we can't pretend that everybody's performing.
There's literally studies showing that if you've had chronic sleep deprivation, they don't know if you can ever get out of it. Like in your lifetime. Like that's like obviously years of bad sleep accumulative, but like
if you have a bad people who work midnight shifts have shortened life expectancies. It's just how it is.
Yeah, like if you're sleeping 4 hours a night for 5 years, they're like not even sure if you can ever get out of it, even if you sleep normally for like 5 years. Like they don't know if it. Obviously, that's like a long study. But then you also have to take into account that, like you said, 1 30-hour thing might take you 3-4 days to get out of. And some people are better at sleeping on planes than others. Like I suck at sleeping on planes, but I can crash when I land. Some people can't sleep on planes and they don't get proper sleep the first night there. So that's like a double whammy. Like I get half of the bad symptoms, but I can almost always sleep like the actual night that I'm there. Where some people, like, dude, Jordan, sometimes he would like not sleep on the plane and then he'd be like, yeah, I woke up at like 2 a.m. and I couldn't sleep.
Yeah, that was me.
And like,
that was me.
Yeah, and it's like, you try to sleep, but if you can't sleep, you can't fucking sleep. There's not, you can't force yourself to.
Even with melatonin, like melatonin helped a lot, but there'd be times that like even just going to Europe, like even just the UK, which is like 5 hours ahead of me, you'd land and you'd try to stay up all day, and then you couldn't stay up all day, and you'd fall asleep at like 7 p.m. and wake up at 1 a.m. and you're just like awake now, like you're just awake, and you'd then you'd end up being awake till like 7 a.m. and then you get a 2-hour nap before you have to go to the venue at 9. It was like it was awful. The sleep would be terrible. So I'm not saying it's an excuse for a team to say we lost an event because of jet lag, but to just pretend that it's not a factor, like you're not even factoring it in to why a team could have performed poorly, is just silly. It's just silly to not even consider it as a factor.
It's pretty nuts that Astralis though can maintain their level of
Mhm.
performance, like that whole like body shotting mentality of just like you can just like they rely on their tactics, they rely on their utility. They went to the same event that or they went to like the Blast event right before this too, and they still showed up and dominated. And
Yeah.
it's just like this is what happened. And maybe Glaive slept well on the plane or something like that. Like
Dude,
honest,
Well,
maybe they have really strict dietitians and sleep people who like who help control
they,
them with all of that, right?
you know what? Maybe 100 Thieves got better dietitians and everything once they got to that organ. That's why they were overperforming for this event. Yeah.
there's definitely things you can do on a plane to mitigate like the
Yeah.
problems, like raising your legs up like above like your head. I know that sounds weird to do on a plane, but like
I was about to say,
getting
how do
blood
you do
flow,
that on a
like
Doing like bicycle
no,
crunches.
you just have to stand in the aisle basically and like raise it. Doesn't have to be above your head, but like just raising it, like up and
Okay.
for like 30 seconds, and then you raise other one, and then you do like some air squats. Yeah, you look like an idiot, but like it will help the blood flow and help you not get so bloated and like and that kind of stuff.
I
And
feel like
then diet on the plane too. Like if your gas expands on the plane, like if you ever want an example of the you take a bottle of water, open it and then close it, and it will either suck the air out or push more in. Like one of the two will happen depending if you're landing or taking off. So that happens in your body too. Like all the gas you have will expand and make you bloated. So there's definitely like it's not good to fly for your body. Like it's not the greatest thing.
I feel like oddly, I don't think Astralis cares how they look on a plane. They're just like, we're gonna be the most efficient as possible, no matter what.
No,
Like,
if they do that, I
Yeah,
don't know if they do that, but if a team did, that would be good.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that
yeah.
would,
No,
that would be
I bet
that
they would incorporate it though. I don't put it past them to like try all these things out because I mean, dude, they threw away their ego enough to not even go for headshots. Like,
All right. So anyway, so real quick, so EG's out. Disappointing for them.
wait. I got to talk about this for 1
All
second.
right, go for it.
Headshots in CSGO aren't worth it, dude. Like I'm telling you, I've been
they're
tapping
so
for
sick.
years.
What do you mean? They're so
Like
sick.
they're sick. You look way sicker when you get kills, but like, dude, the first bullet accuracy is just like not good enough. Like for most
But now
of
it
the time.
is.
With
Now
the
it
XG
is.
now.
Well, with the Krieg it is. But like, dude, you can even go on a DM and you can tell when your bullet just like goes through someone's head. Like you can use that little small dot and it's not accurate like every time. And I think it's kind of stupid for like for like an FPS game with all this money to like be that random. Like I don't know. I feel like if
So
your
you're
aim
saying
is
Valve doesn't
good,
care? What?
well, that's been known for a while here, but
So
But I don't know.
so speaking of that, I'm gonna go really quick into the stats here. So the SG was bought 32.8% of the time. That's not that's across both hats. Like that's total primary weapon purchases is 32.8% of the time the SG was bought, 20% of the time the M4, 13%, well almost 13.81% of the time the AK, and then 12% the op. So the op was almost bought more than the AK at this last event. Do we think that this is finally going to be the catalyst for Valve to realize they need to do something about the SG?
That question is hard because it's Valve, but
No.
should it be? Is the answer yes? Should it be? Absolutely, it should be. Like, how is the AK falling out of favor in Counter Strike? Like, that's just unbelievable.
It's crazy, isn't it?
I don't like that.
Okay? Do you think if they change the first bullet accuracy of the AK to match the first bullet accuracy of the SG, do you think it would?
Dude, you're just gonna buff
I think if the-
T-side even more, man.
I know.
I think you have to
it's just
nerf-
gonna be like.
I think it needs to be
Like
more of a
that's
Krieg
not
nerf
a bad
than an
idea,
AK
but
buff.
like then you got to do some buffs for CTs. I think. Like,
Oh,
you gotta-
absolutely.
You gotta even just bring the AUG back to how it was would probably be decent fix. Like
Yeah.
the AUG was fucking insane before, but like just no one was abusing the Krieg yet. So if you brought the AUG back in its old form, I don't even think it'd be broken. It would just like help match out the fucking Kriegs.
They should just buff the Krieg again, or they should buff. Yeah, why not? Fuck it. Buff the Krieg, buff the AK, buff the AUG, raise movement speed, make bunny hopping like fucking infinite speed, and just make the game Quake. Like, just fucking change everything. Just do it.
Buff, just do the like
I'd like
Everything's
that.
a railgun.
Dota approach. Stop nerfing things and just buff everything.
Yeah,
So
power
just
creep
everything.
the entire game. All nades are more damage, armor's better, like everything is better. Just speed.
Yeah.
I would like them to make first bullet accuracies better, and then to on all weapons, maybe besides like SMGs or something, and then like pistols and rifles at least, and then
Pistols,
I would also
please.
like to see them. Yeah, like especially just like USPs.
Yeah,
Like
I want the USB to be
I don't
100%
know.
accurate, honestly.
But then you go into like another thing like aim punch. I think you get rid of that when you have armor as well, and like then you'll have like more people being able to tap like old scream and stuff. Because right now, like you can have good games where you're tapping when your aim is just like fucking on point, but like you're not going to consistently go around like with like a 70% headshot rate. Like it's just like not possible like in Counter Strike. I don't think.
Unless you're Kaylee.
Well, yeah.
He's 100% legit.
Maybe if you got some extra help. Actually, no. He said he didn't cheat. Actually,
that's what he said. He said he never cheated on land.
He never cheated on land. So
yeah,
you gotta just take his word for it at this point.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
What's he got to lose? Why would he lie?
That is what he said. So good for him. All right, so let's quickly move over into the other group. We got Group B. This was Astralis, 100 Thieves, ENCE, and Vici. Oh yeah, we haven't talked about the two Chinese teams, Tyloo and Vici. Great performance overall this event. Well, and that's it. We don't need to talk about them anymore. So moving on.
I don't get Tyloo though, man. Like I feel like they have these crazy like ups where like you're like, oh man, they're doing like decent. They take a map off FaZe, or like they take a map off of like Liquid randomly or some shit, or they almost win, and then they just go back to getting bodied again. Like it's weird.
Yeah, they're just not very good, unfortunately, for them.
Yeah, they just only show up for majors nowadays, or like minors. They just win their minors, and then they're like, "That's a year. That's the court. That's the like half the year for us, folks." Like,
yeah, they haven't played well for a long time.
Yeah,
and Vici, I don't even. Again, same thing. Just I don't even.
Dude, yeah, Vici is a weird addition to this. Although Vici did take a map off ENCE, but if we want to transition to that, ENCE is just fucking awful.
That's where I was going next. Was ENCE, but just on a side note, it's just too bad the Chinese scene is just so corrupt, and there's just so many teams throwing, and so many players who are blacklisted from the scene because they wouldn't throw, and all this bullshit that goes on over there. Because they could actually have good teams, but unfortunately the powers that be over there just don't allow that to happen. So sucks for them, I guess. Anyway, so yeah, let's move on to ENCE. So again, Group A, Astralis, 100 Thieves, and ENCE. Everybody would have expected Astralis to go out on top, which is they did, of course. And then the battle for second was between 100 Thieves and ENCE. And last year, ENCE probably would have been favorites over this Renegade / now 100 Thieves team. But obviously going into this now, ENCE has looked absolutely terrible. They haven't looked good at all. It looks like the minus Alexi B thing is going to turn out to be one of the worst decisions ever as far as Counter-Strike roster moves go. So I'm just really quick gonna run through the stats. So Sunny, 0 KD, 1.08 rating. Actually had some pretty big rounds, some decent impact in the games. I'll give him credit. Alu, the genius in-game leader and Opper, with a plus 15, 1.08 rating again. Sergey, plus 9, 1.04. And then the massive drop-off with Ariel and X7 with a minus 37 and minus 44 for the two of them.
They're bad. Like,
they're bad.
I've been saying this for a year. I've been saying this for a fucking year that X7 and Ariel are bad. Like they like X7 was only good.
I don't think Ariel's bad, but continue.
Okay, like X7 was only good, and I feel bad saying this because I talked to this guy at ESL1 New York too. But like, dude, he was only a reasonable player because the AUG was overpowered as fuck. Like, that's actually just it. And like Ariel uses the A1S on every map.
Listen, and like lots of players have been lately, Alex.
Okay, I saw Cold was using it. I did see Cold was using it, but on Dust 2 I saw him using
more than that. More than that even.
Okay.
I don't remember who right now off the top of my head, but there's quite a few lately.
Okay, X7 is like
you just they want to get your kill and steal the Krieg. That's all it's for.
Yeah. No, that's true. It's just like
try to out-snipe him.
It's because of the A1's first bullet accuracy. The fact that you can actually
compete.
Battle a Krieg.
Yeah, you can compete
with an A4 long range, medium range, you're just gonna get fucked.
Yeah, like list of add it to my list of players who I just don't really think actually fit in the tier 1 professional scene with Vinny on Furia. X7 is definitely in that list for me. So I just don't he's like so mediocre in duels. like when I say mediocre, that's putting it lightly too. Like he's really bad at duels. Like he really can't he can't hold his mouse as well as these players at this level. It's just like, and his like crosshair placement isn't good enough that he can sometimes like walk into kills or anything like that. It's just like the dude looks lost like a lot of the time when you watch his POV. Just how it is. Sergey, on the other hand, though, is nuts. Like this dude,
Sergey's really good.
Dude, Sergey could be on FaZe. Sergey could be on FaZe for Brokey, and that team would just be disgusting. Like, it'd be so nasty. I mean, maybe Sergey wouldn't be like the best bitch role player, but if they could just like, huh?
He plays most small sites as like his preferred role.
Yeah, so you can kind of play that. He's not like as bitch role. Like he won't like he'll try to get a frag over staying alive sometimes, but his mechanics are really fucking up there for Sergey. So,
well, that's why the whole minus Alexi B thing was so frustrating. It's like, because if you had done minus Ariel or X7 for Sunny and kept Alexi B, that move would have been a serious upgrade, you know? Like, it would have actually been an upgrade. But the way they did it was just so bad. It was just so bad. And now they're just not good. Like, they've taken themselves from being a good team, top 10 team in the world, sometimes top 5, to not even a good team.
Dude, that's what I was saying. Like when they made the change, I just didn't fucking understand.
No,
because,
no
like,
one understood it.
But my reason for not understanding it was like, dude, their only reason they were ever winning was because of their weird playstyle in general. Like, it was like exactly. It wasn't because anyone was sick like on their team. It was just like, dude, if you go back and watch them at like the major, like, and you watch them beat Liquid and shit, like, you feel bad for the teams they're playing because they just like walking around with like 10 seconds left in rounds on T side, and like they just default every round, and like they're just so boring that you probably want to rip your eyes out. And then on CT sides, they had really good timed re-aggression, like when a bunch of people in mid on Mirage, they pushed T ramp. Yeah, I guess the Aug meta definitely played a part in it, but I feel like they still would have been okay if they just stayed like that playstyle. I don't know, because the Krieg could have balanced out the Aug for them, you know. But I don't know. I thought their playstyle was the main reason they were like
bad. Yeah, their tactics were also just shit. Like when they were playing against 100 Thieves, they were trying to default against 100 Thieves, and they just lost everywhere, all the time, like on the map. And it was like they just dug themselves into a hole on, I think it was Nuke, and then they had to start just 4-1ing every round. And it's like, dude, if this is like the playstyle you guys wanted to run, like you're not ever gonna be like good in this meta anymore. Like 4-1ing is just like, people are too good at defending against it now. They're good at cycling through utility. They're good at just like throwing one good like support flash so that all like 3 of those guys get blind, and then the guy multi-frags that gets like the support flash for him. Like it's just too easy for these good teams now to just stop that kind of shit. Like and like they have these super scrappy, shitty looking rounds that are just like, all right, congrats, you got like 1 round on the board, but like I wouldn't even call that a gimmick. I would just call it like you ran out of ideas and we're just like, hey, let's just group up and go somewhere. Like it looks so sloppy.
Yeah, they just haven't looked good at all since they made the change.
They don't even use utility to take map control well either. And it's like, once they get map control, I don't even think they know what the fuck they're doing with it. They just hope that like by getting this map control, they would have won the round. Like it's so like they place players in like sometimes they'll like sometimes get map control.
Wait. So what you're saying is they don't have an in-game leader.
They don't know what like the fuck they're doing. Like they just like, dude, I swear I could call better than what they're doing right now. Like it's just like you see them place players in certain spots on the map, and they have no idea what to do with those players. They're just there now. They're just there, and it's like, do we split with them? Do we let them lurk now? Are they gonna make an individual play? And I think what happens half the time is they like don't know what they're doing in that spot, and they just die. Like it's just dumb.
Yeah,
it's frustrating. It's really frustrating.
It is knowing how good they could have been is very frustrating.
Yeah, with how good they looked before, like
they never even sucked really. They got like 5th, 6th at an event one time.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like, cut someone, and I was just like,
I know.
It was a strange thing.
They just thought their ceiling couldn't be the best team in the world with Alexi B, and it's like,
I've been saying this for fucking years. For like 10 years I've been saying, like, who cares if you're not the best, if making the change isn't going to guarantee it. Like getting Sunny was no guarantee you're going to get better, and as we've seen, most people could have predicted like you
not
were
for Alexi B anyways, right? Like not for
Alexi
exactly
B. like I'm okay with making changes like if you know for certain, like, okay, this guy is like 5 times, like you get Nico for your worst player, all right, okay, fair fucking enough, like make the change. But like if you're at their level and with their change, like keep getting 2nd and 3rd, man. Like honestly, like yeah, it sucks. You're not gonna win for a while, but you'll get so much more wins, you know, like where potentially like making this change has just made them literally bad. Like
you want to know what's so crazy is like they could have gotten Sunny for X7 because dude, X7 has a worse rating than Alexi B on HLTV.
It didn't
Why?
make any sense. It didn't.
Why
make any
are
sense.
you cutting? Like, why don't
there must have been something else going on, man. There had to be like
they've said there isn't.
Like,
they've said there isn't like a bunch of times.
Well, the story is like Thorin was talking about this earlier. How apparently there was some serious like team drama, but the thing is like it's not corroborated, so like nobody's come out with it yet. But the obviously
and
the
all
public
the
story
players
is
have said there hasn't been.
The public story is there's nothing wrong. There was nothing behind the scenes.
Right.
So you could speculate maybe Alu just wanted to start calling. I don't know, but it seems to me like
and team drama. The team drama could have been. Alexi B wanted to do X, Alu wanted to do Y, and they fought about it, and the player sided with Alu, right?
I heard this actually.
Drama, that could have been what it was. This is pure speculation, by the way. I'm just saying, if there was rumored team drama, that could have been what it was.
When Alu had his kid right before the major, he gave Alexi B the child, and Alexi B dropped the child, and then Alu just made it apparent to the whole team, I can't trust this guy anymore because he dropped my child. So they just had to get rid of him at that point.
Right.
That's fact.
See news articles about that real soon.
Just quote me on that for Rushbeat Media or Dexerto.
No, you gotta pitch it like a speculation, the same way that Richard Lewis and Thorne did it by the numbers, and then Rushbeat Media will write an article about it.
That's true. Right. So Alex had a source for this, and sources near to me. Sources
near to me have confirmed this story.
Right. So that's just how it is.
The voices in my head.
So the teams that moved on from the groups were Astralis and 100 Thieves, and then in the other group we had Vitality and FaZe. We haven't talked much about Vitality. It was pretty much the ZWoo show again, but we'll talk about them now in the semifinal. Where they did play up against 100 Thieves. They won the first map, Mirage, pretty easily. Second map was a super fun game to watch. It was Nuke, Vitality versus 100 Thieves. Anybody who wants to go watch a really fun Nuke demo, like that was a good one.
Dude, I love Nuke. It's my favorite map to watch, dude. Like, I actually really enjoy watching it. Like, as long as it's not a 16-0 or something, like, It was
16-14. RPK was going off. Nobody else on Vitality was even positive. No, he was. He was going off. Like, he was going off. Nobody else on Vitality was even positive, but they were just winning. Like, they were just winning these tight rounds. It was like,
dude, without him, they probably would have lost. Like,
they would have. They would have.
Or something.
Like, 100 Thieves should have won the game way sooner, but they were just able to close it out. And then map 3 Inferno was an absolute stomp, waste of time. 100 Thieves beat him 16-2. But the big story here again is JKS still putting up just insane numbers. He was plus 31. Plus 31 for the series, 73 and 42, 105 ADR, 1.58 rating. JKS for the past 6 months has been on an absolute fucking heater, dude.
Definitely top 10 in the world right now.
Probably
like 7th through 10th.
He'll be creeping into top 5.
Dude, this is like his form when he first came over to NA, dude. Like, when he first came into the scene, he was nuts, and then he just stayed pretty good. But I felt like he was never at that level that he first came. And I don't know if that's I don't know. I think he said he's more comfortable now, with this team. So
whatever it is, I love it.
Well, I know he was one of the people historically who really wanted to keep the team Australian, going back a few years, because I remember way back when I had talks with some of the players on the team about potentially sort of doing an NA Australian team where we sort of mix some of the Splice guys. Anyways, this was years ago. This is 3 or 4 years ago. And I remember I'm not going to say who I was talking to on the team, but they said I don't think we'll be able to sell Justin on it. He won't want to. He wants to keep the team Australian. He sort of gets that. So it makes sense now, like you were saying, where they have Grat, they have Liaz, they have Azur. They've sort of kept their Australian base. They've got Jacob in there, who is a great role player, by the way. He just goes completely under the radar, completely under the radar.
I was thinking about this the other day. I was just laugh at him. I feel like people don't even know he's not Australian.
Yeah, he's just there.
He just got cut from FaZe and then randomly joined
for a while.
Yeah, just randomly out of nowhere, kind of just joined these guys,
and
then never left, and just and then never got talked about, and was just good, but not insane and not bad. You're just you're just doing work, kind of.
Well, in this series, he was the second best player in the server with a plus 13, 82 or 89 ADR, 1.3 rating. Like he's just sort of always just kind of does his thing, and he's never, like you said, he's never playing poorly. He's not usually top of the scoreboard.
Yeah, you never look at him like, oh man, he lost them that game. Like I never really think that. Like you look at some other teams, you know, like, oh, Alex fucked up that like round of so important. You know, like I never really feel like that from him. But I was also going to say about the Vitality game. I feel like, do you guys feel like with some of these teams, like I'm not singling out like French teams in general, but like some like Vitality, I feel like when they win that first map, 16-8, I feel like they just think they won the series, kind of like you know, like they just. I feel like they get too comfortable. Like they need it to be closer to like make them try harder or like take it more serious. I know no one's not taking it serious. Right. I think that's a stupid thing to say, but like it's just like, the vibe I get from some teams, man. Like I just like it's like they get kind of egos like cocky from the easy win. But in Counter-Strike, like one map doesn't mean anything, man. Like it really doesn't. Like you can get lucky / like people could just miss shots and like the next game they're on.
I feel like for Vitality, obviously, it's kind of weird to say, but ZywOo was -6 over the series. Of course, the Inferno game, they all just got absolutely destroyed. So, you know, there's not really much he could have done there. But I don't think ZywOo performed to ZywOo level. I think he was by far still the best player on the team throughout the series and throughout the tournament. There's no doubt about that, right? But like in this last series, he didn't really perform to his best. But Apex and Shox are really like that. They're the most disappointing things. You know, I feel like Apex and Shox, if this team is going to succeed, like you can't be relying on RPK going off, right?
No.
You need ZywOo, Apex, and Shox.
One game you're like, oh, Shox is back, and then he's gone again. Like you see the glimmers, but there's no consistency.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of the times too with Shox, even if he's not putting up big numbers, the games where they win and Shox is still he's still great in clutches. If you put Shox and Alex in a 2v2, Shox can win that by himself. If you know if you're in a round where it's 3 versus 3 and you have Shox, ZywOo, and insert any other Vitality player in the server, they're confident they're winning that round. You know, so he still adds that element to the team for sure, like that sort of clutch element that they didn't really have before. But they still need their fraggers to be putting up numbers, you know.
They're missing like another second consistent person for ZywOo. Right. I think like they don't have that like consistent second person on the team. Whereas like most teams, you know, like you have Device and then you have like Magist, you know, like you have like the
with Astralis, you have like literally.
You know what I mean?
Astralis is everybody now.
Like if Astralis wasn't as good as they are, like you'd rate it like Device, then Magic. So you would be like the second kind of carry player, right? And you'd be like, oh yeah, you could easily rely on Magic.
You don't have the twists like, and NAF and the
like
twist,
exactly,
and the Elige and twists, you know, like
So I think like
I feel like every now and then Apex will go off. Every now and then RPK will go off. They'll have 2 maps in a tournament where Shox is back, you know, but they don't have anybody consistent.
Yeah,
and they have the game where none of them show up but ZywOo, and then that's the problem. Like that's the biggest issue is when that happens. Like it doesn't matter how fucking good you are. Look at Simple in 2018. Like one man can't do it all, no matter how good he is. Like if that's not been proven already.
Yeah,
and he had fucking Electronic that whole time too, which people to forget.
Seems like Vitality hasn't really outlined what their win conditions are beyond ZywOo. Like it's like something that G2 was really good at. When G2, like even whatever this current iteration of G2 is, like it seems like for a while G2 is really good at outlining what they need to work, like what their win condition is in a game, and they're just going to kind of stick to that game plan. Vitality's game plan is always just like, oh, ZywOo isn't a top 3 player in the world, but we're going to help him anyways, kind of thing. Like, okay,
I don't know what that accent was.
Dude,
I don't know.
Dude, I don't know if I mean, it's just like they're being dicks, like when they say this shit. Like, I don't even know. It's just like, dude, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about when there's like they say like I don't know. They've like publicly said multiple things about how ZywOo is just like they don't think he's like that. Like good or something.
Oh yeah, no, that's hilarious.
That's unbelievable. Yeah. But like
people look at the ZywOo, but they do not look at my flash.
Yes. Like if like
I feel like ZywOo doesn't care. Like he just
I don't
like,
I don't think he minds either way what his teammates say about him in that respect. But like they need to have someone else that's on the team that's like their win condition also, or like with with Astralis, like Their win conditions on CT side are device getting picks and then them taking map control or like timing the other team with like utility usage that just like denies space really aggressively or something like that. And then like there's just I don't know, certain teams have certain win conditions and Vitality's is just
You
like
know what it is?
ZywOo has to kill all of them.
You know what it is? We need Shocks to.
Oh, your mic cut out right after we need Shocks.
We need Shocks to call.
Yeah, Shocks needs to be the in-game leader now. That's what this team needs. Shocks in-game leader.
Please
We're gonna have to cut Alex. We're gonna need Shocks in-game leader, and who are we bringing in? Body.
Xantares.
Oh, Xantares. There you go.
Yeah, he can bait Apex. Every trade is secure.
Yeah, that'd be actually pretty dope, honestly.
Oh yeah, Smiths. Yeah, no, bring Smiths back, of course. Yeah.
Oh,
How
do we fuck this up?
Shocks in-game leader. Cut Alex. Bring Smiths back. Everything will be fine.
Take ZywOo off the AWP and give it to Smiths, obviously.
Yeah. And then eventually we'll have to replace RPK with Happy.
Oh,
no. I'll have to bring everybody back in. So yeah, that's perfect. Honestly, it's just perfect.
To go to 100 Thieves though, Liaz had a really good tournament. He hasn't done this very often, but I feel like he's finally kind of breaking free of this like. So like when he was on Order, he was like, in my opinion, probably the second most talented mechanical player in Australia behind JKS, and then he kind of like went to Renegades and 100 Thieves now, and he kind of like has been this bitch role for a while.
Yeah.
And I think he's kind of finally coming into his own just a little bit more as like, hey, I'm really effing good. I need to show it. I need to display that. And I'm not exactly sure if it was the roles he had all the time or just how like some of the strats were structured, but it's and like Liaz plays lots of retakes. I play lots of retakes too. Dude, when he's in retakes, he just fucking like there's a few guys that demolish NA retake servers. Infinite's one, and Liaz is like the other that I see normally when I play
Twist,
these.
don't forget Twist.
Twist actually doesn't dominate them as hard as I would think he does when I play.
Yeah, he also doesn't try that hard.
Yeah.
He like just sitting there talking shit and like trolling, like with his girlfriend. Like
yeah, exactly. Dude. One time Twist like whined. He's like, dude, that dude was fucking running and shooting or something. I was like, did Twist really just like get mad about this like in a retake?
It's really funny actually. Sometimes. Yeah. Going off on people in retakes, and I'm like, I can relate. That guy's a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Like every once in a while, you'll play a retake, and some guys will like be trying to knife you, and you're like, just leave the server, man. Like, what are you even doing?
Yeah, but it's cool to see that Liaz, he might be that like third gunner for the team. I've kind of like said that you at least need 3, and if Jacob, JKS, Liaz are kind of firing, but Gratisfaction has been kind of disappointing for a
really
while.
Inconsistent.
Yeah, he's been. Really I think disappointing is like putting it lightly. Like he's been kind of.
I feel like he has like that really high level, but then he'll just also go 2 and 16. So it's like
yeah,
I don't know.
He almost did better on. I looked at the maps that he did better on, and it was like maps that he rifled more on, which is just really like not really like a good.
It's the Krieg, dude. He's just getting owned. He doesn't know what to do.
I just don't know what the deal is with him because mechanically he's actually really good, and he hasn't, like you guys are saying, he just hasn't played well. It's like he hasn't been consistent. He hasn't been putting up good numbers. He sort of just kind of is there.
Yeah,
and it's really weird.
Yeah, I was actually downloading their demos and trying to watch his perspective because I wanted to see it, but like I didn't have enough time to like really get a conclusive like answer for this question.
Yeah, well, so pretty much, 100 Thieves on the back of JKS, able to take down Vitality and then move on. And then the other semifinal, of course, we had Astralis FaZe, really close game, really exciting CS. So Astralis won the first map, Dust 2, 16-0, and then the second map, Nuke, 16-2. So,
dude, I'm gonna defend FaZe here a little bit, dude. Sometimes when you're like a newish team and you play someone Astralis, you just get smacked. Like it doesn't mean they're bad, but you know what I mean. Like it's not an indication of like FaZe's real level, in my opinion. It's just like they just got crushed, and that should happen.
Yeah, no, like listen, getting crushed against a better team definitely happens. Getting 2 rounds and 2 maps is pretty terrible. Like that is very bad.
I think one thing about it is that FaZe kind of have implemented a system now, and I think Astralis just kind of like saw it and were like, yeah, we know how to beat this. And what's actually almost promising is that FaZe just were like, yeah, fuck it, we're just gonna stick with it. We're just gonna stick with our system, even though it's like, even though we could just send like, you know, flash out long A on Dust 2 and like with Nico, Cold, and Olaf or Brokey or whatever just sprinting out, and like you could like gamble rounds like that, but like, you know, they wanted to try their late long take, it didn't work. They wanted to try their mid to B, it didn't work. They wanted to try their cat take into a cat exec, it didn't work. And it's like,
you could see they had a plan.
yeah, they had plans, but they were just like, Astralis is like, we know exactly how to counter this plan.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's not hard. And then
It's like it's like, oh, this is cute. You're just like learning how to play right now.
You just learned this exec.
This is cute.
Oh,
yeah.
we saw you run this in the last series you played. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, this? Oh, we stopped doing this a year ago. Oh, and this went out of style. Like
we know the exact nades to counter this one. Nice try though, guys.
Yeah, good effort though, everybody. Good effort. So anyway, so that was really embarrassing for FaZe. It almost doesn't even like it like they made it to a big event semifinal and it almost doesn't even count. You know, like if you lose that bad in the semifinal, you don't even feel like you don't even feel like you were there. You're just like so embarrassed and just like happy to get out of there. You know, like you don't even want to be there anymore. You're just like, fuck, we made a semifinal. We came into this like, yeah, come on, guys. I know it's Astralis, but like, let's give them a good fight. Let's go to 16-0 first map. Oh, fuck. Like, just this absolutely sucks.
Something about Cold and getting 16-0'd.
Yeah, somebody brought that up. He's been, what, 16-0'd on 4 different orgs now or something?
Oh, man. Yikes.
I know it's at least 3, yeah.
Well, yeah. 3. Anyway, so that semifinal, not much to go on there, and then we go into the final again. Astralis domination, like you were saying. The Vertigo game was actually real close. At one point, it was 13-13, 2 versus 2, I think, if I remember right. And like it was that Vertigo game.
They won a full like USP.
I know. So did 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves
that's what.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, and I was just like, wait, what? Like,
yeah, Leah's got that triple kill at backhaul towards B, and just incredible. Like the Vertigo game was exciting, and I was like, oh shit, maybe we're actually gonna get a cool best of 5 series. And then Astralis absolutely shit on them.
Astralis is like, yeah, we don't fully understand Vertigo yet, but we know these others.
Yeah, so they beat him 16-5 on Nuke, 16-3 on Train. I'm actually more disappointed about the 16-3 on Train. Yeah. Like I actually wanted 100 Thieves to put up more of a fight there. The Nuke one, I get it. Too. I know, that's what I mean. Like that was very disappointing. That 100 Thieves couldn't put up more of a fight on Train. I thought that was, I mean, they did start T-side Train, and then like they lost the pistol on second half. So it might have been a closer game in some, but you got to be able to get more than 3 rounds on your T-side of your map pick.
They won the pistol too, and they couldn't convert.
Yeah, like
it's unfortunate.
Glaive was going absolutely ham, and so like to be fair, they all were. Like Zip, Magisk, and Glaive were going ham, but Glaive was doing that aggressive Glaive shit and just getting a bunch of kills, and it was really, I'm sure it was frustrating to play against, where you felt like you can't even take map control on T side, because if you do, the other side of the map just dies. Like,
dude, you'd see there be a disconnect between the 100 Thieves players. Like they'd be running out T-Con, and then I think it was like JKS or Jacom, one of the J names in ladder room, and like literally Glaive is just dumb. He like wide swings E-box. I'm just gonna say it. I think it's JKS was in ladder room.
Now let's just blame Jacob, because JKS was owning. So
okay. So Jacob's just in ladder, and like his teammates are just getting shot in the side of the head, and Jacob's just like, nah, I'm gonna hold this angle. I'm gonna hold in case anyone pushes into ladder, or like I don't want to run through ladder right now. And it's like, yeah, okay, why is there this weird disconnect with how their team is scaling right now? It just made it like, dude, Astralis had them shook. Like they literally just like. They were afraid. They were like, that's the most, like the way that the 100 Thieves players played is like they just didn't want to die first. Like you could see it in the way they played. It was just sad. It was kind of like they owned Astralis just had their number.
Yeah, Astralis they were in a whole nother world this event. I think I hated I liked that the Vertigo game was close, but I hate the new Vertigo. I think it plays so much worse than the old one.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
I don't really like it at all, but
no, I hate A. A is just fucking, like I
actually like the changes.
I don't mind B that much, but like
me neither.
A is such a shit.
I think they actually improved B a little bit.
Do you guys think this map is like worse than the original version that we got back when it was originally added to the map pool?
Yeah, I do. I think this version's worse than the very first version. I think all they have to do to this version, like Okay, I think A is shit. I think they need to do something with A. I think they need to open up the second opening to the A site. I don't know why they made it so that the CTs have to go through one spot, or like the third opening, I guess, if you include backhaul. But like the one where the big wooden wall was, where they spam it, how they just close that door off. I think they need to reopen that back up. I think that you reopen that back up and add the door back in mid, and Vertigo is playable again. I think, anyways.
Yeah, I put the door back mid. Dude, mid control just feels so pointless still. It's just like, what are you gonna do with this? You're either gonna, without that door there and not pressuring like a B flank now, you're basically pressuring an A split, or like, oh, you can go through the window to get to B, which is already pretty much like T's almost to have control of that at the beginning anyway. So it's not even that impressive, I guess.
Yeah.
It just feels so pointless.
Yeah. So again, Astralis won that one. Pretty straightforward. The other, like I said, Nuke Train, pretty straightforward. I'm happy for 100 Thieves that they made a final. I do wish they were able to at least get one of those maps off of them. Seeing Dust 2 would have been cool. I think just because 100 Thieves, I like the way they play Dust 2. I think Astralis still would have won, of course, but I think that would have been cool. Just going into the maps for this event. So Inferno and Nuke were like played so fucking much. Inferno was played 10 times, Nuke was played 9 times, and then Dust 2 4 times, Train 3 times, Mirage 3 times. Overpass and Vertigo only played once each.
That's a little surprising.
Dude, good Overpass.
Really
Vertigo being played once, fine, but Overpass only being played once was like weird to me. Like
I think the teams that are really good on Overpass now are just so good that people, if you're not like, if it's also not your best map, they're probably just like, fuck it. Like it really does suck to play really good Overpass teams.
Mm-hmm. So let's go into last topic here. The map pool. What maps do we want to see removed? Everybody knows I want Dust 2 to get fucked off, but the fact that Dust 2 is played so much means Valve isn't fucking remove it, unfortunately. So when they do bring the new cache in, what map do you guys think?
Mirage. I want this map gone. I don't
know. I knew you wanted Mirage. I knew you fucking did. You sick fuck.
I think it makes sense for Mirage to leave, but dude, I think Vertigo is just a failure as a map. Like, I think they keep doubling down on it by like trying to do something with it, but like they're just making it worse. They're just like it feels like the people they're consulting to try to make Vertigo better are clueless, like about pro meta, or just like I don't know what the hell who they're talking to and what they're talking about, but they're asking all the wrong questions and they're coming up with all the wrong answers. It's just a failure.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I really just want Dust 2 out of the map pool when they bring the new cache in.
I mean, that's fair. I think Mirage should, just because it hasn't been touched.
Yeah,
I like Mirage. I even like Mirage. Like, I'm not even afraid to admit I like Mirage. I think it's fine.
Mirage CE was my favorite map ever in Go, but I don't like the A site on Mirage, and I don't like how individualistic it is in general. Like, it's just so easy to just make plays on the map as CTs. Like, I think it should be hard for CTs to push things, not just like free. And it seems like everything on CT, they can run off cat, run into mid from connector, underpass, push over B, push halls, push T ramp, and it's all just fine.
Yeah,
I kind of like that about it, because when you pug it, you have to just take it over. You have to just.
I do think that Mirage needs a rework. I'm down with Mirage getting a rework.
Yeah, I'm down for that too.
I don't hate the map so much that I wouldn't want it. Like, so I just think I want it to be changed a little bit. Like,
that's fair enough.
I'm not a huge fan of the A site. Like, if you go back and you look at Mirage CE, the original Mirage, the A site is so much cleaner. Like, whenever I go out a ramp, and this is after playing the map for fucking years, it's like I never know where to look. Like, it's so chaotic on, like, you can't properly really molly anything, like, other than under Belk. Like, the site molly, like, the try, you know what I mean? Like, there's not any really good way to filter the CTs out from those spots. The flashes that can come from their teammates are so powerful that, like, you can't stand there teeing off on them either, because they just destroy you and you get peeked and die. I don't know. They can molly the ramp. They can, it's very hard to, like, break T site without using connector.
Yeah. It's really easy at A to stay alive for like a year if your teammates are throwing good flashes above.
Yeah, it is up to your teammates. Like you if you don't have teammates, you will get run over instantly. Like you'll just. That's why sometimes when I'm like playing A site and I'm like, anyone got a flash and no one has, I'm sitting there like, oh fuck, like I'm fucking dead. Like.
Remember when we were playing our match on it, I like bought one nade for mid instead of a second flash, and I was like, and you needed a flash really badly, and I was like, Yeah, definitely fucked up right there.
I was under Belk and like I could hear them all running around me, and I was like, anyone having not just you,
I just had a nade.
anyone having a
I know,
flash would have like just been the easiest.
Yeah, it would have been everything. Yeah. Instead, I probably did
Alright.
like 17 UD, and I'm like, that's
And I
my
shot him
ADR.
through the side of the box like 9 times, and he just turns and kills me with a Krieg. You know.
Yeah.
I hate that
Alright.
angle, that sandwich spot when you're under Belk. I always shoot people through like the side of the wood, and then they just turn and kill me because it's like such a weird angle. I think I should commit out more. But
Anyways. All right, well, that is going to be it for the show today. We sort of mostly just talked about Beijing, as I was saying earlier. Apologies to everybody. We did have a show planned for Saturday with Stewie, but unfortunately something came up for him last minute, so he wasn't able to make it, and so we decided to do this as sort of a little makeup thing. I will be gone to Pro League. I leave Wednesday morning, and I'm gone until next Tuesday. So I'm not sure what the plan is for the show later on this week. We'll have to talk about that. There might be a show later on this week. There might not be. That might get pushed back to next week. Return Fire will be live tomorrow on this channel, same time, and hopefully we'll see you guys all there. And thank you everybody for watching this live. If you didn't catch it live, don't worry. You just finished watching it on YouTube, so this is fine. And thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Also, don't forget to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/PeakersAdvantage, if you want to help us out. Thank you everybody for watching, and we will see you next time.
Smacking.